scena bellezza infiora e là fuggevol ora s'inebria voluta li pianne i dolci fremiti che suscita l'amore.
Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, Innovation and Strategic Partnerships, Registrar, University Librarian, Provost of the College of Medicine, Dean Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Deans of other faculties, the postgraduate school and of students, and you are Dean of students, Directors of institutions and centers, Heads of departments, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The 4th and 7th and the 8th in the series of the University of Ibadan inaugural lectures for the 2016-2017 session will be delivered by Professor Adebowale Titilayo Philip Ajuwape of the Department of Veterinary Microbiology and Parasitology on behalf of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. Born on 31 January 1952, Okeajo, Ibadan, to Papa J. Ajuwape of blessed memory and Mama J. Ajuwape, who both hail from Ijele, Inaugural local government of Ogun State. Professor Adebowale Titilayo Philip Ajuwape completed his elementary school in 1966 at Ibadan City Council ICC Primary School in Okibola, Ibadan, and had to attend Papa Efu Adekoya's coaching class, Ebenezer African Church, Okeajo, Ibadan, in 1967 due to financial constraints and await completion of his brother's secondary school. He then had his secondary education at Methodist High School, Ibadan, between 1968 and 1972, and won the prize for best student in physics in 1971. Please applaud that. He later studied at the Institute of Agriculture Research and Training (IRT), University of Ife, More Plantation, Ibadan, for a diploma program in animal health between 1974 and 1976. Thereafter, he had a 2-year stint as livestock assistant at the Remo Division of Ogun State, and gained admission to IRT for a higher diploma program in animal health in 1978 and passed at decision level in 1980, winning the Director's Prize for the overall best student and Principal's Prize for the best student in Parasitology. He also won the USIS prizes for the best student in surgery and best student in pathology. He participated in the National Service Corps program at College of Agriculture, Maiduguri, Borno State between 1980 and 1981, and gained direct entry admission into our University of Ibadan in 1981-82 session to study for a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degree, in the course of which he bagged the departmental prizes for veterinary pathology, Veterinary Microbiology and Parasitology in 1983. After graduation in 1986, he resumed duty in the Ogun State Civil Service as Veterinary Officer 2 of the Ministry of Agric and Natural Resources then, Vet Clinic Debigbo, and served there till 1990. He holds a Masters of Veterinary Science in Veterinary Pathology degree in 1994 from this university. Professor Ajuwape joined this university initially as a temporary lecturer 2 in the Department of Veterinary Pathology in the 1990-91 session. He left to join Ogun State University, Agoiwe, later in 1991 as a lecturer 2 in animal production. He served there till 1994 and rejoined the University of Ibadan as a lecturer 1 in the Department of Veterinary Microbiology and Parasitology. That year, which fell from 1st July 1994, he was promoted as senior lecturer of 1st October 2000, reader 1st October 2007, and professor 1st October 2010. He has been a consultant microbiologist to veterinary teaching nurses to the University of Ibadan, Ibadan State, from 2005 till date, he has supervised many undergraduate students' projects, master's dissertations, and doctoral theses at the University of Ibadan. He is currently supervising 4 postgraduate students. He has a total of 73 publications, including 64 journal articles, 6 peer-reviewed conference proceedings, 1 chapter in book, and 2 technical reports. Within this university, Professor Ajuwape has served in various administrative capacities, including member, appointments, promotions, and disciplinary committee for staff on USS 5 and below between 1995 and 1997, and also between 2005 and 2007. Assistant Warden, Independence Hall, University of Ibadan between 1997 and 1998. Warden, Independence Hall from 1st October 1998 to September 30, 2004. Member, University of Ibadan Board of Health as a congregation representative between 1997 and 2001. Member, Board of Survey, University of Ibadan 2004 to 2007. Acting Head, Department of Veterinary Microbiology and Parasitology, 1st September 2005 to 31st August 2007. Dean of Students, University of Ibadan, 1st August 2015 to date. Outside the university, Professor Ajuwape has taught, supervised, and examined undergraduate and postgraduate students at the University of Maiduguri, Ogun State University, now Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agowe, Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Obafemi Awolowo University of Ile-Ife, since 2005 till date. He was a visiting scholar, Department of Veterinary Microbiology and Preventive Medicine, College of Veterinary Medicine, Iowa State University of Science and Technology, Ames in US, between 2008 and 2009. Professor Ajuwape is married to Deaconess Deborah Adoramo Ajuwape, and the marriage is blessed with children. I now call on Professor Ajuwape to deliver his lecture titled Contending with Worldless Cities and Fortified Kingdoms, a Veterinary Microbiologist's Testament.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor Admin, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, Innovation and Strategic Partnership, the Registrar, the Librarian, the Provost of the College of Medicine, the Dean of the Faculty of the Veterinary Medicine, Dean of other faculties, Deans of Postgraduate School and students, ladies and gentlemen. God in the beginning created man, an animal on the 6th day of creation. Before man was formed by God, he made provision for all the needs of mankind. The biblical King David produced a son king who said, and I quote, "A righteous man cares for the needs of his animals, but the kindest act of the wicked is cruel," end of quote. It is relevant to state that God abhors unwholesome animals. I quote, "When you bring blind animals for sacrifice, is that not wrong? When you sacrifice crippled or diseased animals, is that not wrong? Try offering them to your governors. Will they be pleased with you? Will they accept you? Says the Lord." End of quote. The Lord Almighty. End of quote. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, that is the biblical basis of my career as a veterinarian, taking care of the health and the needs of animals created by God. He predestinated, and I humbly consider it an honor and a privilege to deliver this inaugural lecture on behalf of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine this blessed day, Thursday, April 27, 2017. It is not accidental that the years of my pilgrimage on earth started on Thursday, January 31st, 1952. More so, the boy who was prophesied to be iron welder, is standing before this august gathering to deliver an inaugural lecture. The good Lord also blessed me with a grandson whose naming came up earlier today. The Almighty God changes time and season. My family, Oriki, has tailored me to be a veterinarian so as to meet the animal protein needs of my people. Ajuwape òsínlé àǹjàṣán tó bá ń bẹ́ńlé a máa dúgbò ẹran fún ní jẹ. Mr. Vice Chancellor, it is delightful to know that this is the 407th inaugural lecture, 37th from the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, and I am the first to give an inaugural lecture from the newly created Department of Veterinary Microbiology of our faculty. And coincidentally, the third serving dean of students to deliver inaugural. The first inaugural lecture delivered by dean of students was by Professor E.B. Olufemi, while Professor A.R. Alada delivered the second one, and this third one that I will be delivering as a serving dean of students is, while in office, I have chosen to address this august gathering on contending with the warless cities and fortified resistant kingdom, a veterinary microbiologist testament. What is microbiology? It is a branch of science that studies very tiny organisms to be seen by unaided eye. The above definition arose from the work of Anthony van Leeuwenhoek, who first described and drew bacteria in 1676. He named what he found animalcules. He unknowingly launched one of the most interesting fields of study, which still challenges us daily over 300 years later. The field of microbiology is diverse, and microbiologists, like microorganisms, are everywhere. They are in government, industries, and universities. They study microorganisms for the sake of, some study microorganisms for the sake of microorganism, because it constitutes part of our environment. Veterinarians and physicians study microorganisms because of the disease they produce in their patients for the purpose of prevention and cure. Others are interested in the use of microbiology for betterment of the planet, while some use microorganisms as tool of biological warfare. That's why you have bioterrorism and agro-terrorism. The discipline can be conveniently divided as listed below. History of microbiology. Mr. Vice Chancellor, Sir Herbert Butterfield said, and I quote, "History is not the study of origin, rather it is the analysis of all the mediations by which the past was turned into our present." End of quote. I received with great joy the news of federal government's call for decertification of social studies and reintroduction of history as a subject. Nigerian Tribune, Friday, 30th September 2016. My daughter mandatorily studied American history when I took her to United States because of the value that nation attaches to her history. Before the advent of Bible, the Egyptian pharaoh protected their pyramids with aspergillus spores. Microbiological history with human and animal implication occurred in the days of Pharaoh around 1500 BC, when he stubbornly enslaved the Israelites. The fifth plague, which affected livestock, caused the death of all the Egyptian livestock. Carcasses were piled up everywhere, stinking reservoir for diseases. Hence, the land of Egypt appears to be the birthplace of major plagues of man and animal that we are still contending with today. Mr. Vice Chancellor, today's lecture is subdivided into three broad parts: warless cities, fortified resistant kingdoms, and animal protein crisis in Nigeria and herdsmen insurgency in Nigeria. The warless cities are microbes that characteristically lack cell walls but are implicated in livestock diseases. Whereas the fortified resistant kingdom, these organisms characteristically possess cell wall and broadly separated into two based on gram stain technique. They are either gram positive or gram negative. You have the other ones there. The main characteristic and comparison for the fortified resistant kingdoms and the warless cities are shown in the table below. My contribution to scholarship, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir. Professor B.O. Ikede in 1983 offered me a vacation job on the epidemiology of trypanosomosis in Nigeria and initiated me into research in recognition of the departmental Best Students Prize for Pathology, which I won that year. Trypanosomiasis trypanosomes are warless blood protozoan parasites. They are transmitted by tsetse fly. The slides are there. I later undertook my program in the department and a clinical pathological investigation of trypanosomosis, partly funded by EEC Lumetric Convention. The results resulted in two publications, Ajuwape and Nantia 1999, Ajuwape and Nantia 2000. The results showed that the antigen ELISA technique detects a higher prevalence of trypanosome species than the parasitological methods in 4 Nigerian breeds, namely Red Bororo, White Fulani, Sokoto Gudali, and Kuri. The hematological parameters under trypanosomosis were compared as indices for trypanotolerance. The Red Bororo breed was found to be most trypanotolerant, while Sokoto Gudali breed was the most trypanosusceptible. This finding will guide cattle breeders in the choice of cattle to be raised in the southern part of Nigeria, which is highly infested with tsetse flies and trypanosomes. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, during my visit to the cattle settlements along Fashola and Iseyin zones of southwest Nigeria, I observed that the White Fulani breed of cattle is the most common, and the Fulani herdsmen are of the opinion that Sokoto Gudali breed is fragile. However, Professor Segun Falade stimulated my love for veterinary microbiology in the final year of my DVM program when he gave me an assignment to carry out a serological investigation of Q fever in horses and pigs in Nigeria. Coxiella bonita comes under the above fortified kingdom. The infection is characterized by fever and may be confused with malaria in human beings, which may be complicated with abortion. It is transmissible from animal to man. Earlier seroprevalence of Q fever has been documented in cattle, camel, dogs, and goats in Nigeria, but we were the first to document seroprevalence of Q fever in horses, 29%, and pigs, 27% in Nigeria. I did not realize what contribution we made to knowledge until Maria L. Marenzo, a researcher in the Veterinary Faculty, University of Perugia, requested and commented about that paper, and I quote, "Thank you very much for your paper and my congratulations for the result. Very informative and you understand the relevance of the horse in Coxiella burleti infection before many other scientists," end of quote. The Wallace cities, African swine fever. During my undergraduate training, we were taught that Nigeria was free from African swine fever, a highly contagious virus disease of pigs caused by a virus which lacks cell wall. That's Wallace, and we are still contending with it. However, 12 years after my graduation, there was an outbreak of this disease which pulled down the pig industry in Nigeria. It will interest your office to note, sir, that my humble self conducted the post-mortem examination on the dead pigs in Bukuda, Ilueri, Odonla communities of Delta State, Nigeria, and gave a tentative diagnosis of African swine fever. Mr. Vice Chancellor, the original complaint was death of domestic animals due to crude oil injection as a result of spill. However, isolation and molecular characterization of the VP72 gene of the first isolate from Nigeria and West Africa was confirmed as African swine fever. Today, Nigeria is not free from African swine fever. The disease was experimentally reproduced in pigs infected with blood from the field cases. They all died 5 or 6 days after infection, suggesting that a healthy pig will die within a week of contacting the Wallace organism. This disease outbreak was just allowed to run its natural course until the patient either died or survived to become a carrier and transmit the infection to other clean susceptible pigs. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, there is no effective vaccine to protect pigs against the disease. Hence, it has not been captured. The above findings had remained a reference point in African swine fever research. Mycoplasma of ruminants. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I was apprehensive and confused one morning during my stint as a lecturer too in the Department of Veterinary Microbiology, Pathology, when my head of department, Professor O.A. Ojide, called me to his office and handed over a big envelope containing about 6 volumes of History Journal of Veterinary Medicine, which belonged to late Dr. J. Akinyemi, and instructed me to go through the journals and develop proposal for avian mycoplasmosis. My fear was against the backdrop of the fact that shortly after Dr. J. Akinyemi's PhD, he passed to glory, to the great beyond. Hence, I saw the proposal by the HOD as a bad omen, and I started procrastinating till I left the department for Ogun State University. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, Shakespeare said, and I quote, "There is a tide in the affairs of men, which, taken at the flood, leads unto fortune." End of quote. It took the persuasion of a visionary mentor like Professor A.I. Adetosoye to bring me back to this university. It was under his leadership our team won the grant to investigate pneumonia in pigs, goats, pneumonia in sheep, goats, and cattle. Pathogenicity of piperine strain of Mycoplasma mycoides, subspecies mycoides for cattle. That was sponsored by National Agricultural Research Project. At this juncture, I cast away my fear and faced Mycoplasma species work squarely. Mr. Vice Chancellor, Mycoplasmas are small prokaryotes enveloped by distinct sterol containing plasma membrane and are totally devoid of cell walls. Mycoplasma mycoides, subspecies mycoides, small colony is the etiological agent of contagious bovine pleuropneumonia, CBPP of cattle, and it is well adapted to cattle. These pasture first observed Mycoplasma organisms while studying the causative agent of pleuropneumonia. However, he was unable to isolate the organism in the laboratory, and the organism was regarded as virus in quote. History had it that shortly before European invasion of Africa began in 1884-5, South African cattle became infected with CBPP in 1854, either through cattle imported from Britain. Mycoplasmosis due to Mycoplasma mycoides, subspecies mycoides, small colony in cattle was eradicated from Europe at the end of 19th century, but reappeared sporadically and affected several countries in an episodic in South Europe between 1983 and 1990. In Africa, including Nigeria, CBPP was probably brought under control through International Vaccination Eradication Program tagged JB28, launched in early 1970, but the disease re-emerged a few years after, possibly due to longus, that is carrier animal from some of the neighboring countries like Republic of Chad, Niger, Cameroon, or Benin. And because of the deteriorating economic situation of many African countries, today sporadic outbreaks do occur, especially in northern states of Nigeria. Another factor that contributed to the highly impressive result of JP28 is the depressed immune response to CBPP vaccination, probably due to concurrent trypanosomosis, and also cattle owners. Cattle owners resisted animal vaccination with wet vaccine because of the sloughing of the tail brush, which is an unfortunate reaction at the site of vaccination. Hence, such animals will not be able to drive or repel flies from its back. This informs the Yoruba adage, I quote, "Màálù tí ò ní rù, Ọlọ́run ní balẹ̀ ṣinṣin." End of quote. We documented the first isolation of Mycoplasma bovis in cattle and goats, Mycoplasma capriculum, subspecies capriculum, and Mycoplasma capriculum, subspecies capri pneumoniae from sheep and goat lungs in Nigeria. The table below shows the various species of Mycoplasma, and you can see from that cattle, you can see the typical mucopurulent discharge from the cattle infected with Mycoplasma subspecies mycoides, small colony. And the next one is the lung lesion. Histological section of the pneumonic lesion showing moderate edema with alveolar epithelia showing fertilization. And the next one is histological section of pneumonic lung showing fibrin mixed with neutrophils within the interlobular space. The Mycoplasma species we also encountered from milk are also listed there. Mr. Vice Chancellor, Mycoplasma bovis was originally found in outbreak of bovine mastitis occurring widely in the North America and Europe, although Mycoplasma mycoides, subspecies mycoides small colony, was earlier eradicated through strict hygiene and quarantine, slaughter and vaccination policy. Mycoplasma bovis is still ravaging the dairy industry in those countries, causing low milk yield to the country. We isolated this organism in Nigeria for the first time. The organism is notorious for its intractable mastitis and antibiotic resistance, with resultant economic losses to dairy industry across the globe. Pathogenicity of ovine caprine adapted mycoplasma. We observed that the Fulani herdsmen move cattle, sheep and goats together during the dry season, and animals from different sources congregate at the few available ponds in search of water. The above factors encourage the spread of microbial agents, especially Mycoplasma species, between animals. The T144 strain of Mycoplasma currently used for vaccine production does not seem to protect our animals adequately, and the use of Mycoplasma mycoides subspecies capri in an experiment as heterologous vaccine to protect cow against Mycoplasma mycoides subspecies mycoides small colony failed, because that animal came down with the typical disease. Hence, vaccine failure may be due to use of vaccine that is not based on all the endemic strains capable of causing CBPP with the resultant of sporadic outbreak of CBPP being recorded in Africa. The similarities in the clinical signs and serological cross-reactivities among the members of the Mycoplasma mycoides cluster hinder accurate diagnosis. Hence, we carried out experimental investigation of pathogenicity and clinical pathological changes associated with ovine and caprine adapted Mycoplasma strains. Mycoplasma capriculum, subspecies capriculum, MCC pathogenicity was investigated. 2 calves were infected with Trypanosoma congolensis TC and subsequently challenged with MCC to stimulate the condition of cattle in tsetse-infested area. Other calves were infected with TC only. The 2 calves with dual TC and MCC infections died 38 plus or minus 1.4 days post-inoculation, presenting fibrous pneumonia. We pressed further to investigate the pathogenicity of MCC without TC infection. 2 calves were infected with MCC while another 2 were used as control. The 2 calves with MCC died 65.5 plus or minus 2.1 days post-inoculation, presenting fibrinous pneumonia. Then these findings imply that confirmatory diagnosis should be carried out in cases of mycoplasmosis to identify the Mycoplasma species involved in the outbreak. Also, Mycoplasma capriculum subspecies capriculum vaccine should be developed to prevent economic losses referable to this organism. Then we went further to investigate the Mycoplasma capriculum subspecies capri pneumoniae, MCCP. This one produced no overt signs in calves inoculated with the organism. Another group of calves immunosuppressed with Trypanosoma congolensis infection and subsequently challenged with the same dose of MCC developed typical CBPP lesion. The 2 calves infected with TC and MCCP died 23 and 26 days post-inoculation respectively. The post-mortem showed edema, marbling, and consolidation of the lungs, typical of CBPP. Studies on the Mycoplasma mycoides, subspecies Capri, 4 calves were inoculated with TC and 2 of them were challenged with MMC. Another calf was inoculated with sterile broth as control. No overt disease was found in MCC infected calf. The 2 calves with dual TC and MCC infections died 53 plus or minus 1.4 days post-inoculation, showing marbling and consolidation of lungs. My research efforts revealed that Mycoplasma pneumonia constitute a serious setback to livestock industry in terms of economic losses to the national herds, with resultant low availability of animal protein for the teeming population. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I got the prestigious Fulbright African Scholarship in 2008-2009 to conduct research on contagious bovine pleuropneumonia in Nigeria, the need for vaccine development. I joined other international bovine mycoplasma researchers on Mycoplasma pneumonia, the etiological agent of chronic non-suppressive pneumonia of sheep and goat. We described the interaction of pneumonia with ovine global suppression of mitogenic activated ovine peripheral mononuclear cells using CFSC loading and flow cytometry to measure the lymphoid cell division. The suppressive activity was destroyed by heating. The suppressive activity of Mycoplasma pneumonia, pneumonia, was destroyed by heating to 60 degrees and partially impaired by formalin and binary ethylene treatment that abolished its viability. The suppressive activity resides on the surface exposed membrane protein fraction of the Mycoplasma, since mild trypsin treatment, which does not affect the viability of the organism, was shown to reduce the suppressive activity. Trypsin-treated Mycoplasma regained the suppressive activities once the Mycoplasma was allowed to resynthesize its surface proteins. The above findings explain why current vaccination with T1 strain vaccine produced through egg passage is not effective in the current control of mycoplasmosis alone. Hence, mycoplasmosis has not been captured through vaccination. However, vaccination should be coupled with strict hygiene and slaughter. The importance of compensation of the farmers cannot be overemphasized so that they will not become bankrupt. Finally, the importance of standard laboratory in the 6 geographic zones of Nigeria for identification of the offending Mycoplasma species cannot be overemphasized. Number 2, fortified resistant kingdom. Complete sequence of Moraxella bovoculi. The genus Moraxella bovoculi, consisting of emerging opportunistic pathogen of man and animal. There has been speculation that at least Moraxella bovoculi could be causative pathogen of infectious bovine keratoconjunctivitis, IBK. Together we investigated the etiological agent or agents of IBK of cattle in the United States, Ajuwape, Lee, and Rosenbusch. The 16 sRNA sequences of the strains that were previously biochemically characterized as Moraxella ovis as shown by the apathogenic and shown to be apathogenic in a cattle model of IBK by Rosenbusch and us too. in 1986 were studied. The apathogenic strains of Moraxella ovis 3709 yielded 16S ribosomal RNA with sequence matching perfectly to the partial sequence of Moraxella bovoculi by Angelo and Ball 2007. The findings suggest that Moraxella bovoculi and that of Moraxella ovis 3709 are non-pathogenic. Mr. Vice Chancellor, my team for the first time across the globe successfully produced a complete sequence of Moraxella bovoculi strain 3709, 16S ribosomal RNA gene, and partial sequence of 16 to 23S intergenic species. The ascension number is there, and the gene sequence is there. Sequencing of DNA region provides accurate microbial gene identification, and the comparison of 16S RNA gene sequences has helped to determine the phylogenetic relationship among bacteria. Enterobacteriaceae, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, one of the signs of academic fruitfulness has to do with the ability to mentor others. This noble academic task accounts for my contribution to the scholarship in the area of Enterobacteriaceae family. It is relevant to state that Professor Adetosoye, my mentor, is an authority in the field of Enterobacteriaceae, and as a true son, it afforded me the opportunity to mentor some of my professional colleagues, namely Dr. A.O. Ogunlaye, now a leader in the Department of Veterinary Microbiology, and Dr. E.O. Ojo, the current head of Department Veterinary Microbiology and Parasitology, FUNAB. Through the former, who also won the prestigious Fulbright Scholarship, we have expanded the frontier of knowledge in the areas of diagnosis and characterization of some of the enteric agents of infectious and or emerging infectious diseases such as Salmonella paratyphi-A. This organism implicated in human typhoid fever, which was recorded in an outbreak of salmonellosis of poultry. The investigation on Salmonella paratyphi-A represents the first investigation of human-adapted Salmonella species in chicken. We also documented the formalin kills Salmonella enterica paratyphi-A protected bots only against Salmonella enterica paratyphi-A challenge, while birds succumb to other poultry Salmonella species. We successfully characterized Salmonella iturae. This is the first report of association of Salmonella, this Salmonella serotype with poultry disease. We have also contributed to knowledge of evolution of drug resistance in enteric bacteria isolated from livestock and humans in Nigeria. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, through Dr. Ujo, who won George Foster Research Fellowship, we have expanded the frontier of knowledge in the areas of characterization of Zika toxin, E. coli, Escherichia coli. We investigated the occurrence of the occurrent antibacterial susceptibility, virulence gene, and pathogenicity of Escherichia coli 0157 isolate in the feces of food-producing animals and meat for human consumption in Ibadan and poultry flocks in Abeokuta, Nigeria. All the tested E. coli 0157 isolates experimentally caused severe diarrhea with 100% mortality in rabbits. This is the first of such investigation in Nigeria. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, along with my above mentee, we have, with deep concern, documented high level of antibiotic resistance. We have no option than to call for a national control on antibiotic abuse enough of selling red and yellow capsule across the counter. Various groups of antibiotics as highlighted below. Number 3, animal protein crisis, herdsmen insurgency in Nigeria. The economic recession, corruption and looting of the national treasury, which came to peak in 2015-16, has further compounded the problem of feeding Nigerian teeming population. Today, about 1/10 of the minimum animal protein requirements are presently available per day to the ever-increasing Nigerian population. Mr. Vice Chancellor, the tropical climate affects our animal negatively through direct effect of heat on the animals, which indirectly affects its nutrition. Hence, there is low growth rate, poor feed conversion efficiency, low fertility, small mature body size, and poor yields in terms of egg and milk. A nation that cannot feed her citizen is like a wallet city. The contention continues. From the slide on that is on, you can see people marketing dogs. Dogs are continually disappearing. There was a news that said dog was continuously disappearing from the streets of Ekiti State, as many residents are now take to dog meat. And despite this protein problem, I have been following the trend in the Nigerian newspapers. Number 1, plane abort landing as cow takes over Owerri Airport runway. The next one, FG to build ranches grazing reserve for Fulani herdsmen. The above decision by the federal government is an attempt to solve problem of Fulani cattle herdsmen. It will, however, create more problems than anticipated. It amounts to creating a new state out of all the 36 states. Mr. Vice Chancellor, the Comet newspaper, July 24, 2004, cited by Oteshile 2004, I quote, the Kwara State government has invited over 200 white farmers who relocated when the greater part of their land was confiscated by the Zimbabwean government, end of quote. The reason given by the state governor, Dr. Bukola Saraki, was Kwara's peasant farmers are mostly aged, unfamiliar with modern technology, and have no capital to buy tractors, end of quote. Mr. Vice Chancellor, graduates of agriculture and allied disciplines are turned out from our nation's universities every year waiting to be empowered. This current fall in oil price and decrease in oil output of Nigeria should stimulate us to look into agriculture, including livestock production. Hence, large expanse of land has been ceded to the white farmers as farmers constitute an unfortunate policy error against the backdrop of nation's land tenure system, which predates the Land Use Act of 1976. Nigerians are now bearing the brunt of menace of herdsmen attack. Nigeria has recorded human economic losses coupled with dissemination of infectious agents, including mycoplasmas. The title, the newspaper, grazing news, Bayelsa allocation of land to herdsmen, no going back. It was greeted by protests by women. Fulani herdsmen invade Ebonyi community. Mr. Vice Chancellor, there are two types of Fulani herdsmen. The settled herdsmen who have been in the southwest part of Nigeria for long, especially in Fashola farm settlement, Iseyin and Upper Ogun area. This group of people occasionally have minor brushes with crop farmers in the area. However, the Bororo Fulani herdsmen are the major culprits. They have large herds of cattle, migrate from north to south annually because of southern ecological zone. Though infested with fly and trypanosomiasis, provides large forage and water for the livestock population for longer period of the year compared to the drier region and remain there until early rains. You can even imagine they went down as far as Ogun State. Tension as herdsmen killed 76-year-old farmer in Ogun. Ekiti caught jails herdsmen 2 years for destroying crops. The Akwa Ibom rains on Marwedi herdsmen. Those are from the newspapers. The last one, court sentence 7 Fulani herdsmen who kidnapped Shibulufalaye to life imprisonment. Mr. Vice Chancellor, where there is no justice, illegality becomes the order of the day. I have noted with deep concern that across the nation, none of these rampaging herdsmen have been brought to book, except in 3 states. Ekiti, where the government took bold steps to by enacting law against cattle grazing, and even convicted the culprit who claimed the cattle owner was in Ilorin, Kwara State. About 6 months later, Akwa Ibom sponsored a bill on the rampaging herdsmen, and lately, Ondo State, where 7 herdsmen who kidnapped Shibulufalaye were sentenced to life imprisonment. The newspaper cuttings like cattle rustlers displaced 2,000 in Niger. Again, cattle rustlers strike in Niger, kill 4 in Baka village. Delta community alleges incessant attack by herdsmen. Area commander injured as herdsmen clash with police in Delta. And that young man with AK-47, you can imagine how fully armed these people are. Monarchs accuses suspected herdsmen of killing farmers. And so on and so forth. You have many of these cuttings there. And the Gatu massacre, we cannot forgive, but we can forgive, but we won't forget how Fulani herdsmen killed 6,000 of our kinsmen. That's from Gatu Kingdom. Recommendation. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, from the figures, it is obvious that all our animals, both dogs and cattle, are obviously malnourished and lean. They are not well fed. Migration has not helped in feeding because the energy they will have used for production, they use it for trekking up and down. There is need to combat desertification, a situation aggravated by the cutting down of trees by common man who cannot afford kerosene to power his stove for cooking. Most of those nomads are migrating in search of pastures for their cattle during the dry season spell. Over the years, there is influx of foreign, in quotes, nomads into the country through our porous borders, fully armed with ammunition. Mr. Vice Chancellor, this nation is under siege. The newspaper Daily Sun of January 25, 2017, Fulani herdsmen attacking Nigerians are from Senegal, Mali, northern governors. Most of the cattle are claimed to be from Chad and beyond. This observation was corroborated by the northern governors earlier this year. The contending continues. The need for compensation for crop farmers who sustained losses cannot be overemphasized, so that they are not thrown out of business. As for human losses, nothing can calm ailing nerves but justice. It is Fulani herdsmen. If the Fulani herdsmen are from other countries, why do northern governors why don't the northern governors flush them out as invaders and treat them as such? Are they no longer collecting security votes? In any case, an ordinary citizen is not expected to carry AK-47 even under license. The control of CBPP and many other diseases-causing agents in Nigeria has been a mirage over the years because of migration of herders from place to place in search of low-quality pasture. The Savannah region of Nigeria constitutes the most extensive ecological zone, which provides forage and water for the livestock population during the wet season. There is an urgent need to develop the Savannah region, starting from massive education of the youth. I want to suggest a cattle belt whereby the proposed grazing reserve and ranches or cattle belt will have irrigation facilities with high quality pastures to take care of the dry season spell and migration. And the proposed area is indicated on that map. The federal and state governments should build standard abattoirs and control posts with well-equipped laboratories to facilitate the hygienic slaughtering of animals and distribution of wholesome meat and meat products across the country. Finally, Professor Wole Soyinka 2007 said, and I quote, "In this very nation, Southern Kaduna, over 800 souls were brutally extinguished suddenly, while the issue of grazing lands versus farming is unquestionably part of the conflict. It is equally undeniable that religious differences have played crucial role in the conflict." End of quote. I humbly submit that the military incursion into governance in Nigeria eroded the desirable true federalism and the enthroned unitary system, which is a fake federalism. The restoration of true federalism based on free and fair referendum will foster genuine development through healthy competition as seen during the nation's first republic. Mr. Vice Chancellor, above is the account of my contending academic activities in this premier university and many other microbial investigations that could not be mentioned for over 2 decades to ensure that wholesome animal protein is available for my countrymen and women. Acknowledgements. Man's hand assaults the flinty rock and lays bare the root of the mountain, says the book of Job. Great is thy faithfulness, O God, for carrying me on eagle's wing to date, and for endowing me with skill, ability, knowledge to make this modest contribution towards the progress of my nation and humanity. My parents, Pa J. Ajuwape and Mama J. Ajuwape, both despite abject financial constraint, ensured that I went to school. I'm also internally grateful to my mother, Mami, who could not grace this occasion because of her health challenges. She did not give up, taking me back to school whenever I ran away from school. Because I did not love going to school early in life. On one occasion, she sustained injury from a broken bottle in the course of ensuring that I got educated. I am a beneficiary of free primary education, and that foundation sustained me to date. I'm grateful to the first premier of the whole Western region, Pa Obafemi Awolowo, for introducing free education in that region. Several people, including all the audience, too numerous to mention, have played one role or the other to get me to this stage of being qualified to give 2017 University of Ibadan Inaugural Lecture. I thank you all and pray that The Lord will repay you for your good works. It is my bonding duty to acknowledge our indefatigable academic staff union of universities for the struggles making sure that universities are still floating above the sea level. It is not for, if not for these struggles, this inaugural will not have been a reality, or it will have been a valedictory lecture. Take note, not all ASU are ASU. I thankfully acknowledge different organizations for the grants and scholarships which have been instrumental to my success story as listed. Above all, I wish to acknowledge the United States government through the Council of International Exchange of Scholars for the prestigious Fulbright African Senior Research Scholarship. Is the past representative present? Oh, that's a representative from U.S. Embassy. I am indebted to Dr. Ricardo Rosenbusch for hosting me and making my stay in Ames memorable. I also acknowledge the Fulbright scholars across the globe, Nigeria, and University of Ibadan chapter, especially the President UI chapter, Dr. B. Oladele. I appreciate and cherish my teachers from elementary school to the university for the positive roles in my life. Reverend G. Oshiboali, Housemaster, is he around? Housemaster. Dr. Mrs. Adelola Falashe, who stimulated my interest in biology, and I'm deeply indebted to my teachers at the IER&T. They grew me and encouraged me to take up DVM degree program. I am very grateful to my other teachers in the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. There are too many to mention as listed, but I want to recognize Professor Obi Kasali. He taught me how to do pathology and teach it. Last but not the least, Professor A. Adetose, the giant who supervised my PhD thesis and gave me the breadth of microbiology. I am mindful of my many research collaborators. Thank you all, and the contention continues. I fondly remember the refreshing companionship of my schoolmates, professional colleagues from Methodist High School, Ibadan, up to University of Ibadan. In particular, I wish to thank Bolagade Adesina, Bisi Bakare, Reverend Utimi Adenuga, he came all the way from Lagos to grace this occasion. Professor J. Akirimade, the President of Student Association, MHSI. And last but not least, Dr. G. Adenino, who chaired the committee on this inaugural and bankrolled part of the expenses. I say God bless you. My dean, Professor M.O. Yemi, who nominated me for this lecture, you are highly appreciated. I acknowledge the past heads of the department, the current and the first acting head of the Department of Microbiology, professional colleagues in the department, and veterinary and non-teaching staff of that department. I pray that righteousness and truth will propel the new department to higher ground. My special tribute appreciation go to all my students for their loyalty and creativity, especially Mrs. V. Oguleye, Dr. A. Oguleye, E.O. Ojo Funab, Elizabeth Amosun, Okunlade A.O. Foluke Jemileyin. They made immense contributions to my success story. I thankfully acknowledge Vice Chancellor. I want to acknowledge I have worked with many Deputy Vice Chancellors. I want to start from Professor Olorunshogo, Ofi, Professor Akinwumi, Professor A. Ogunkunle, A. B. Agbaje, E. A. Bangboye, Abiola Odejide, Gbemisola Oke, and Emil Olorun Ayelari. Permit me to seize this golden opportunity to congratulate and welcome on board the two newly elected Deputy Vice Chancellors, Professors A. Aderito and Adenike Adeyemo. I thankfully acknowledge the Vice Chancellors I worked with all through my service in this dynamic community, namely Professor O. Adewoye, Ayodele Falashe, the father of discipline, O.B. Bamiru, I.F. Adewale, and my current Abel Olayinka, during whose tenure our university hit the world ranking. I pay glowing tribute to my esteemed team in the student affairs, Dr. A. Abiono, Deputy Dean, all the hall wardens and assistant hall wardens, and hall mistresses, Dr. I.F. Etadon, Deputy Registrar Student, other staff and students of this great university, for the conducive environment for learning and preparation of this lecture. Of the greatest you are. Likewise, I am indebted to my friends, associates, and elders, especially those as listed, and other too numerous for mention due to time constraint, as well as my adversaries. I have come to realize that without positive and negative terminals, no current will flow from the battery. Hence, my light will not have shone to the glory of God. The body of Christ, Body Diocese Baptist Church family, under the shepherd of Dr. S.O. Ojola and the diaconate, where I get spiritual nourishment from, is hereby recognized. I appreciate members of the UI Ologun House Fellowship for the love and unity in the Lord. I appreciate my uncle, Shifemu Ajuwape, all my siblings, Omotunde, Ireti, Adedayo, Adenekon, Iyabo, my cousins, as listed, nephews and nieces, and their families, my in-laws, especially MBA Bafod, Oloriebi. They are the goods, the Ajagbes, the Ajiboes for the good relationship. God bless you all. I wish to deeply appreciate my nuclear family, my children, Tolulope, his wife, Titilayo. And especially I thank God for the gift of a new baby boy, Adewale, who was named earlier today. Olufunmilayo, her husband, Oluwasomi, and children, Fiyifoluwa, her husband, Adeyemi, and children, Oluwaseyiton, my body anatomy. I cannot forget the companionship of my adopted son, Shino Arowosegbe, and Dr. Shindo Malu. To my family and friends, I humbly submit, like Shakespeare, and I quote, "Be not deceived. If I have veiled my look, I turn the trouble of my countenance merely upon myself." End of quote. Thank you for your love, support, perseverance, and understanding my idiosyncrasies. Last but not least, my woman, the woman of my youth, the wife of my youth, the bone of my bone, Deaconess Aduramu Ajuwape. You have been a wonderful and loyal companion. I appreciate your going through the last 50C with me. Finally, Mr. Vice Chancellor, blessed are these who attend and take to heart the words of this inaugural lecture. Thank you all for listening.